All right, Duda Penteado, thank you so much for joining me this evening. My name, for those watching, my name is Issa Musharbash. Today, we are in August 5th. Today's August 5th, 2020. It's approximately 10:28 p.m. And I am joined by Duda Penteado, who is the film director for the up-and-coming How Many Lives documentary. I am interviewing Duda today for the purpose of a research paper I'm working on at Harvard University, particularly at the Harvard Extension School with Dr. Jerusha in a expository writing class. This is my final work in the class. And since I am covering independent filmmaking, I thought it would be great to get one of my good friends and partners, Duda Penteado, who directed an amazing documentary, and he could shed some light on the topic of independent filmmakers or working through documentaries and going through the process of film festivals and really trying to get into Duda's process to making a film as an independent filmmaker without the hundreds of thousands of dollars in budgets and millions of dollars in marketing budgets, etc. To really understand how he pulls it off and what goes through his head. Duda, do you give us permission and all the rights to use this interview at Harvard University in our extension school for academic purposes?
Yes, I do. We're gonna have fun with this.
Awesome, awesome. For the record, could you please state your full name?
My name is Duda Penteado.
Fantastic. Thank you, Duda Penteado, so much for this. Also, for the record, my name is Issa Musharbash. I'm a student at Harvard Extension School, and I am so excited about this interview. We will begin this interview with the trailer to How Many Lives documentary. I'm going to share my screen right now, and we're going to make it happen. Let's do this. And there it is on YouTube.
Do you think America loves guns?
Yes.
My childhood friend, he was shot in broad daylight.
My brother was a Jersey City police officer. He was ambushed by a person with a gun.
My father was shot in the head and killed. My cousin was shot in the head and killed.
I have a couple family members who are victim of gun violence.
Nobody called the cops, nobody called the ambulance. People just pulled out their phones and recorded him, watch him struggle for his life.
This gun violence has destroyed my life, my family's life, and other people's lives.
We have the right to say something, and we will.
You need to think about what are we doing to facilitate opportunities for young people that are more driven towards arts and culture. And so we started to think about youth programs, tying it into our mural programs. The one they did this year really touches on an issue that's across the country, gun violence. And I think it's important because through art, the young people can be part of the conversation with regards to how they see the city around them.
What we have found is that when violence happens in this city, it's intimately related to the young people that we're working with.
This year's topic was powerful, needless to say, because of the escalating gun violence in the US, because of our ability to access social media and media, because of Jersey City and its own history with gun violence.
The piece is actually, in my opinion, I think it's great. I think it's amazing because it actually captures what art is and what art should be and what it does, and what it does, it reveals the heart. We have a bunch of kids here that are painting this wall, this mural on gun violence, and they're actually painting from their heart.
As far as I'm concerned, my generation has lost its way in terms of discussion of the issue of gun violence.
It should definitely not be easier to get a firearm in our country than it is to get a driver's license.
None of these victims on this wall should be here. And I can only imagine what their family goes through, because it's been 3 years and it doesn't get easier.
When I was a kid, we used to fight with our fists. Now they do it with guns.
What should we do here? Should we just extend that wall and do the next one and paint the next max shooting, the next one?
All right. So, thank you, Duda. What are some of your initial thoughts about introducing this to us? And I'm not sure if I was able to stop the sharing of my screen. Do you still see my screen, Duda?
I see now. I didn't see when the trailer was being played.
But now we're good, right? Good. Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. So what I'd like to do is ask you to tell us a little bit more on the background of your documentary. So give us the backstory. How did you come up with this idea? What are your thoughts? Like, you wanted to, you use a mural project and build a documentary out of it. Why is that important?
Well, then I come from a background of fine art, visual arts, and film came little by little into the picture. And the way I started working with film was really recording artistic processes many years ago. I'm talking back the first time I began work with film. I was in university level 20-something years ago in Brazil, São Paulo. And I was art director for a small production we did. But I was painting, I was working with a lot of different visual artistic mediums. And so the film process came little by little, and How Many Lives is kind of the solidification of a process, me coming as a visual artist and a film director together. What do I mean by that? I run the youth program in the city of Jersey City. It's a huge effort that we have 30 students every year in a very tedious process, being selected to be part of the mural. And we learn this big operation of 30 kids creating together and painting a mural every summer. What has happened is every summer we pick something then it has meaning, social meaning to paint as a mural, which falls in a category of a classic mural, right? But when that year, it's a very strange, unique story. I just woke up. I was already seeing a lot of things in the news, and I was very concerned about one of the social issues was gun violence. And I wake up one morning, a heavy burden, and I'm like, I feel I have to do this project. And I immediately start calling everybody involved in the process to clear up the possibility of me to be able to film this and to be able to do the mural. We got clear by the mayor, by the staff and everyone, and we got clear to film as well. And so something very experimental who became filming the process with the kids. I wanted to film the process with the kids making the mural, but was really shocking. You see that scene in the beginning of the trailer. I walk in the classroom and I asked them, do you think America has a problem with guns? Do you think America loves guns? That's actually what I say. Do America love? And the kids, yeah, we do. We think we love guns. And I was like, wow, that was shocking. But the conversation became even deeper because the kids start making confessions how they were exposed to gun violence in the inner cities, and some family members were killed, and it got real intense. And after that day, when I walked out from the first session of brainstorming, I was just like, oh my God, I have a full documentary in my hand. This is not gonna be a 10-minute, 15-minute. This is a full-length documentary.
So initially, you were thinking you wanted to get a 10, 15-minute kind of a video showcasing the work. And then you realized after meeting one with these kids, given the topic, that this is a full-blown documentary you're working with.
Correct. Every year we do a short documentary about the making of the mural. We run this project for 6, 7 years. So it's typical that we run this short, very short documentary about the making, but that year was so intense, and I'm like, we're just touching the surface. And then I start like, wow, I really need to start calling friends and get a producer with me, you know, and you came in as executive producer with me to help me to make happen. And as a long story short, we did film this 1-hour documentary.
Yeah, and it's very, very exciting. You're touching a national crisis, and we'll touch on that in a bit. But let me ask you, as an independent filmmaker, right? What are some of the limitations that you face?
Look, let me make this simple. As an independent filmmaker, you face all kinds of limitations. That's the reality. The advantage I have is then, because I come as a fine artist, as a visual artist, I understand that you need to work, create a body of work, and then you need to create a community. And you need to think also as a project, not just on making an art piece. I say, to me, the documentaries we make, each one is an art piece. We have a very select team that work with us. It's custom made. I select the people works with me, and the process, it really goes to a tedious artistic process. So that wasn't so unfamiliar to me. I knew kind of the path, but what I want to say is, when you're thinking about creating an artwork, whatever it is a piece of theater, a documentary, a painting, you need to think about how you're going to put this out, where it's going to be displayed. In a case of documentaries, where you're going to distribute, you know, you have to think about those things. So from the beginning, my discussion with the people I brought with me as producers, we have 4 producers in the documentary, and we have you as an executive producer who overseeing the entire operation. And part of that included this huge kickoff pre-release of the documentary, which we have 400 people coming to the White Eagle Hall right here in Jersey City. You know, we had to plan. You can't just plan making an artwork. You need to plan how to articulate the distribution, the showing, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I think you pulled it off as an independent filmmaker to be able to attract and fill to capacity a very important venue in the city of Jersey City. It talks a lot about your preparation. Maybe do you believe that your background in art, in fine art, and your stability in that world is what had led to the initial success of the opening of the release, like the pre-release at White Eagle Hall? Do you think your background has to do with that? In fine arts, people could trust that you're going to produce something of value because of your history in art, or do you see something else?
Yes, I think it helped, because if you really think about, I'm in a documentary. It's part of me is in this documentary. I'm not only direct the film, but I was directing the artistic project itself, the mural. So in a way, it's a kind of portrait of part of me as well, this project. So yes, it facilitated, because it wasn't just Duda coming out as a film director, which now I direct several other things, and we have a lot of the projects, but was me directing something about a field that then I know so much, right? I have more than 20 years in experience in the visual arts, and so people see that.
So you're saying that it's important that you have some sort of background when you are an independent filmmaker. In your case, you're attributing your 20 plus years of full-time fine artist as the as the ingredient to pulling off a documentary completely independent of Hollywood and Hollywood money and big budgets, right? This is not this documentary is not a $1 million documentary in terms of budget. With those limitations, particularly around budget, how do you deal with the concerns of budget? Do you feel like your ideas are constrained with the lack of a larger budget? You know, you're independent, you're on your own, you don't have big money behind you right now as an independent maker, filmmaker. How do you deal with that?
Well, going back this is part of the same question. The reality is, as when you become an artist, and we're saying independent filmmaker needs to think themselves as an artist, you need to have a start at some point, and you need to create a community around you. And the thing about films that I love, you don't make by yourself. Basically, you can, but you know, you have the ability to articulate work of a lot of people. And this is one of the things I love in the process of making a film. Then a lot of people contribute, a lot of people can come as assistant producer, and help in the fundraising and help to enlarge the vision. So in the end, when the product is done, all these people, 20, 30 people, is part of this production. Is very rewarding. But in my case, because I come from the visual arts world, I understood a lot of the processes, how you have to do. You have to have a community. You need to be able to understand you have sponsors, how to go after the sponsors. So it was a tedious work, and I didn't do that by myself. You helped tremendously in that. And some other co-producers, assistant producers help in the process of fundraised. The reality is with the How Many Lives documentary, I believe when the product is good, when you're doing something artistically that is powerful, people ultimately is gonna join you. And to talking about independent filmmakers, I think we're in a better place than never in history. You have
why so? Why are we in a better place?
You have crowdsourcing, a way to fundraise to different platforms. You know, technology. There's few things. Technology is more developed than ever, which means you can buy more equipment with less money. Number one, so you can do more things as independent filmmaker. Number one. Number two, the ways of fundraising is much more available. You could do Facebook, you can do crowdsourcing, you can do so many.
Kickstarter, right? Kickstarter is a big one. Indiegogo
is another huge one. So those are the most famous platforms in crowdsourcing. And you can do so many different ways with technology. You can even fundraise from your country to another country today by using all this technology available. So it's the best time for independent filmmakers because there's so many ways. Remember, our movements and many of the filmmakers, they started as something called the underground movement, which something that some people are doing and is not discovered yet. The environment for that now is amazing. On top of that, even with COVID-19, you know, what did to us is make people stay home. We couldn't go nowhere. So people are consuming, watching more things everywhere. YouTube puts a lot of material there. We talk all the time about Netflix, but we have Amazon. We have hundreds of other platforms out there. Then people are watching and connecting. So it's the first time in history that you have more things available to be able to find untraditional ways of distribution. On top of that, we still have the documentaries, and what I have a passion for is in a prime time now. Documentaries 20, 30 years ago was something, oh, I don't know if I want to watch it. Then you start seeing a lot of movies elaborating in movies based on real life. You know what I'm saying? We have a lot of movies like that. And with that fashion, sometimes you watch a movie based on somebody's life, But if you have a documentary about the person, you want to watch that. So documentaries in the last 5 years, or it became super hot. You have like now series of documentaries, like 10 parts documentary, and people are watching that stuff.
Yeah. So you said a number of things, right? You talked about the access to cheaper technology, right? We could buy more equipment with less money.
Yes.
You talked about that being a bullet point to why filmmakers are in a good place now. You also talked about the need for you talked about the need for more content on a lot of platforms. And then you talked about how documentaries have emerged as a genre that's more
it's super fashionable.
It's super fashionable, right?
Everybody, you talk to people today, oh, did you see this documentary? Like a few years ago, nobody would say that. They'll say to you, you watch this movie. Now they say to you, you watch this documentary?
So you're seeing a greater demand. And then you talked about, crowdfunding platforms that could make it easier for someone who doesn't have access to a mega budget, but still be able to get it out to a crowd that could, fund the project in bits and pieces. So rather than having one or two people raise $3-4 million, you could have 100 people combined contribute $100 each or $1,000 each, whatever they could do to be able to fund the film. And so you're mentioning some critical elements that are important, but is that enough? Is it enough that documentaries are hot now, and then you could raise the money using platforms and technology is a little cheaper to be able to get equipment? Is that enough? How about the content of the documentary? At what point is that important?
Well, I'm just talking about tools and environment, right? So the tools are more available to us better than ever. Technology and made this world easier for independent filmmakers. Now, the environment for documentary is best than ever. But the real question you have here is like, is the director and the producing team know what they're doing? Is this worth it to film? Is this, so I think is, because I'm working with art all my life, I have a process how I decide to approach something. And to me, it's very clear as a director, I'm passionate and address social issues that are relevant to the time that we live in today. But I want to find unique stories in that, so everything I do, there's this very unique thread line, like this web of things that needs to happen. Like I talked about gun violence all over the US because the kids pick different stories to tell, but it's a very specific story in the inner city about a group of kids who paints a mural and meets other group of kids from Jersey City who are doing manifestations on the streets. So my documentary in the end is really a story about the frustration of the youth today, by done in a very interesting way. Then is the making of this mural unfolds into this visit to the UN and all the confrontations and the frustrations that happen. I love to find those specific stories, like and a group of people, a community who can tap into the larger story, which is gun violence in general in the US. So I try to tackle a social issue, the importance of today, but at the same time, tell the story to unique perspective.
Got it. So you're
I approach, basically, I think that way. And then I say, wow, this is a great story to do because it has those elements.
So you're mentioning, so the environment is important right now, and tools are accessible, etc. But you're also saying not only do you have to be or assemble a good team that could raise money and have good actors, or in this case, good people to interview and find the story. The topic is important, because if it's not connecting with the heartbeat of the nation, then maybe maybe it's not the time. Then on top of that, you're taking it from an angle of you're finding an angle to that national issue, and you're presenting it differently. So it's hey, it's not just a documentary about gun violence. There's enough stats on gun violence. Let's take it through the youth and their artistic process, and how they process it, how it impacts their day-to-day lives in inner cities. So I love that. Let me follow up with a couple of more questions for you before we wrap it up. Tell us about the film festivals, the process. What has been your experience like? Is that an application? Is this how you get visibility? Do you believe, what do you believe is your next step after creating and finishing the recording and editing and creating the music and all that? What's next? Do you really feel is film festivals? In your case, you obviously applied for a couple and was accepted into a film festival, the Golden Door International Film Festival in Jersey City, and won an award. So my question to you is first, tell us about the film festival process. Before you won an award, you had to get accepted. Before you got accepted, you had to apply, correct? And how many festivals did you apply for? What is that important, or can we bypass that process?
I think film festivals are very important to independent filmmakers. About almost 10 years ago, because I did a lot of video performances, I joined the Black Mara Film Festival jury for university level and youth. So I acquired a tremendous experience. I was a jury for 3-4 years into what it is, the process. The Black Mara Film Festival is the Thomas Edison Film Festival. It is the most famous film festival historically in the state of New Jersey. And through that connection, I understood the world then is available to independent filmmakers. I love specifically looking the high school filmmakers. And believe it or not, around the county, around this area, the Bayonne kids from high school, Bayonne won tremendous award, the most awards created around here. So you can see the beginning talent as 13, 14 years old. Someone who's creating something, has a platform and receiving an award. We have to understand these film festivals, they not only for adults, but they are categories for children and foreigners. Is incredible. I also was I received an award to be part of the Flattery Film Festival, which is named after Robert Flattery, which is the inventor of documentary, by the way. And I got an award, and I went to this incredible film festival in California that we have people from all over the world. What the exchange of ideas and conversations and connections are unbelievable. So I hope film festivals will continue for a long time. I mean, what else do you have besides Hollywood? You have film festivals, and you have now today thousands and thousands in the U.S. to choose from. And I think this is amazing. This is the way people start. And when people go with some film and start winning a lot of awards, they can also get attention of distributors, and that's how they start step up to the next level. So it is very important, and it is amazing. And receiving the award, in the case of How Many Lives, we applied to several film festivals. We started getting, each one, and then we needed to wait for the next year, and COVID-19 kind of came in and died out the whole process. But receiving the award here from this festival, the Golden Door Film Festival, was amazing because we've received an amazing award called the New Jersey.
The Spirit of New Jersey Award, right?
The Spirit of New Jersey Award, which is really an award to do about somebody dealing with very deep social issue. Reality is, going back to what you said before, when I finished the How Many Lives, and I did extensively research and what materials were there about gun violence. I barely saw one documentary. Our documentary has lenses through a making of a mural artwork that unfolds in the frustration and the frustration, the impact on the youth and their families. So our documentary is really not, we're not trying to do politics at large, left and right politics. We're dealing with the politics of the human beings, the social politics. When it's affecting families, homes, and neighborhoods, we're talking about something really, really deep. And everywhere we play How Many Lives, I was tremendously applauded because people got moved. They got moved because lives are on the line. That's why. This is a real thing, you know? This is not about voting here and voting there. This is real, it's a real thing affecting layers and layers of communities. And so when you put the How Many Lives, then it's really kind of around the New York area, that same project can be transported to many inner cities of the USA. You know?
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. But let me ask you, so you touch on this award that you got, the Spirit of New Jersey. What does it mean to your film? What does that award specifically mean to your film? Is it important that you win awards? Can you move on if you don't win awards? Have you not won an award before? What, is it a big deal? Is it not a big deal? What are your thoughts?
I won a lot of awards and things as a fine artist. So I'm familiar with the process and it is gratifying. That was the first time I won an award as a director and producer, which was amazing. Waiting in front of like 300 people in this award night. And we were, I'm going to say we were the most applauded award of the night when I came to receive. And I didn't expect none of that. And I was in awe and I was shocked. And I was like, wow, that really hit people home. You know, what you want to do with a film is really drive a point and really touch people deeply. And I think we accomplished it with this piece. So the award is a confirmation, I guess, of a tremendous hard work. You know, when you think about films, we spend an entire year producing, filming, editing, and fundraising. You know, at one point we ran out of money. We had to put a system to fundraise the rest of the money. And our film is not even a lot of money. Our film is close to $50,000. You know, when you're talking about Hollywood and larger productions.
Yeah, that's like a couple of hours of filming in a major production.
Half a lemon and make entire lemonade. It's just squeezing the juice out of it, you know, but we did, and, you know, and I think it's an important piece to tell. It's an important story to tell.
So as we close this interview out, what's next for the How Many Lives upcoming release? So it hasn't been released. It's been excessive work before the release. The release is in a few more months from what I understand. It's been recorded, edited. It's been pre-released at the White Eagle Hall with a sold-out venue. Then it went into a film festival. It won an award. It traveled briefly to universities, some universities local, and even Facebook. The headquarters of Facebook did something for their Latinx associates that sponsored it. what's next? The actual like release.
We're also in the Big Skills Film Festival, which the director said they sold 5,000 movies. You know, to put the finalists there. We're in the special panel talking about creating the movie, and people again applaud us like in a very, very emotional way. How Many Lies? Look, I'm gonna be very straightforward. When I begin to deal with this movie, How Many Lies, I knew it created a lot of controversial things. It began really in the making of the mural. We had problems, you know, we had to stop the mural, we film all of that. So it's been a bumpy, necessary road all the way through it. And I knew we will have, you know, the framework, the politics framework of this country. You put me right in one side or the other, you know. So we did have few universities screenings, and then we're able to, the two things that I love, Facebook picked up and did a huge event with us in New York in the headquarters. They were very passionate about the project. We're supposed to do another huge event with Facebook, but you know, everything stopped now, COVID-19. But one of the most important things that we created with How Many Lives, we got a special sponsorship from the Gun Violence Research Center from Rutgers University. There's two in the country, one in New Jersey and one in California. And we're developing a project again to push the film and do newer presentations. But again, COVID-19 slowed down everything. So I knew How Many Lives, you have highs and lows and a lot of tensions. And I knew a great artwork. See, a great artwork, they're not supposed to just put some simple questions out there. A great artwork is supposed to really, if it's a great artwork, is really allowed us to put out there some deep reflective questions for society to reflect on it. You know, we don't put, what I want to say is, we don't want to put simple answers. A great artwork does not put out there a simple answer. What it does, it articulates some important, very important things, some very important questions for us as a whole, as a society, to reflect on it. And a film that endures 1 hour, sometimes there's a lot of space to reflect on the subject matter. And so we got the sponsorship. They were amazed by that, and we decided, me and you, to we have few people calling us being interested in distribution, and that's why you don't see How Many Lives distribute anywhere on this underground or unconventional YouTube and this and that. We don't have the film out. We're right now negotiating a distribution contract for How Many Lives. But
yes, which I'm very excited about, and it will be released soon. Now, you are giving us permission for anyone who is reviewing my paper, whether it's my classmate, of course, my instructor, and anyone who gets to review it at our university. You're giving us permission to actually access the film through a private, unlisted YouTube link that's designed really for distributors, but you're giving us access at Harvard.
I love that. I want to extend to everyone that's watching this video and in your class and involved with what you're doing. Your class is an amazing class, talking about writing about content and why and films. And I wish everybody has a chance to watch the trailer and the film and give us some feedback, what they think about it. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, you never know. And one last question for you to close it out. What would you tell an independent filmmaker that's up and coming, limited on budget, limited on resources, and how would you guide them? What are some of the things you would advise someone who's an independent filmmaker trying to make it?
I would just tell them, listen, you right now, technology brought a complete revolution to the world. A few years ago, we did not have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And look, when I began my career more than 20 years ago, I need to write in the paper, take slides, put in the mail, That's prehistoric. Wait 3 month cycle to get an answer. Today we live in the best time. Make your content and put out there somehow. If you can only put in YouTube, put out there. If you can put in Facebook, put out there. Just put your material out there. Send to film festivals if you care. Do not stop making art and film, because that beginning could lead to something else, to something else, to something else. And I want to close with this. Sometimes we see names popping in TV and the main culture. We say, oh my God, this guy is awesome. How he just showed up now? Most of the time, this guy is been working for about 20 years in their craft, in their message, creating what they're creating. But suddenly they surface to, to the mass media, So how do you get to Hollywood? How do you get to the next step? You just keep trying. You got to make your first step to make a second, to make a third one.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you, Duda. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. I wish I could get deeper and deeper into the film, but the content of this interview is really to help filmmakers in general get some additional insight into potentially breaking through and getting to their next level, whatever that level is. Maybe it's the next level is greater funding or better distribution deals, etc. And you've been able, I believe in this interview, you've been able to answer that and give us insight into that. So congratulations on the distribution deal coming up. With how many lives the world will get to watch the amazing work that you've done. And thank you for allowing Harvard universities and our students, my classmates, to enjoy not only this interview, but anyone who gets to potentially read my paper on this will have, they'll check the source, the citation, and have a link to the film if they want to watch it, which is so exciting. Thank you so much, Duda.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.